Happy Devils Wednesday. Hockey is back in the NHL. This is the State of the Fan Address, episode 24. We just got off to a little bit of a late start, had some technical issues. We're sorry about that, but we have a great episode 24. Oh, do you know who wore number 24?
Oh, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah,
Bryce.
we purposely did that. No, I just figured that out like in the last 3 seconds. I am your host, Sam Wu, here with Nick Villano. And is it? Yeah, you got to turn off your radio back there. Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding around. But I'm happy that we are live streaming on all of the Let's Go Devils podcast platforms. In just a few minutes that we will be talking to MSG Network's Devils TV analyst, Bryce Salvador, former New Jersey Devils captain, wore number 24, wore the C. We have a lot of questions because we're titling this podcast the 2019-20 season preview Extravaganza. And we brought an A-list guest onto the podcast. Can't wait to hear Bryce's insight on this season upon us. Friday night at the Prudential Center at the Rock, the Devils take on the WJs, the Winnipeg Jets. Nick, I'll shut up right now. I should pretty much get Bryce on in a couple minutes.
Yeah. So while Sam gets Bryce, we'll kind of go over, we're going to do a little bit of different things because of our technical difficulties. Obviously, me and Sam will banter for a couple minutes, kind of getting into things and getting into what we're going to be talking about tonight. Instead, we'll be doing that after the interview. We only got Bryce for a limited amount of time because Bryce is a very, very busy man. And we very much appreciate him coming on and spending a couple minutes with the Devils fans. We're very excited to see what he has to say about this very exciting Devils season. So you'll hear from, the expert, Mr. Salvador, and then you'll hear from me and Sam, and you can pretty much ignore everything we say because, we're us and he's him. So I'm very excited to do this to kind of get Bryce's thoughts, though, on this team because Bryce is a very no-nonsense guy. He's a guy who will tell it like it is, whether, if the Devils have a bad night, if they have a good night. You see a lot of those home team broadcasts that'll just kind of ham it up for the team. I mean, the Florida Panthers are one that are just all Panthers all the time, and some people like that. I personally like the fact that our broadcast crew, whether that's Chico, whether that's Ken, whether that's Cangelosi, or whether that's the MSG crew of Bryce, Bryce and Erica, I think that the fact that they're actually telling us like it is instead of telling us what we want to hear, and they'll tell us if somebody makes a bonehead play. They'll tell us if somebody's not playing as well as they probably should in the game. So that's why I really want to hear from Bryce. There's a lot of hype within the Devils fan base right now. There's a lot of people going crazy and, saying that this team might be an outside Stanley Cup contender. But that's obviously within the Devils fans. But I've even seen, next week we got a very interesting guest because we had a writer picked us to win the Metropolitan Division. We're going to have her on next week. So I want to see where Bryce is with this. Is this a borderline playoff team? Is this a team that can compete with the Caps? Or is this a team that isn't quite there yet but on its way? And then we're going to talk about a couple other things with Bryce, kind of talk about, we have to talk with him about the Ty Smith situation. That's the biggest storyline of this week. And the biggest storyline maybe of the entire start of the season. I think that the Ty Smith loss puts a big hole in this roster, and I don't know if Ty Smith deserved this spot on this roster the way he played. He didn't play well. He didn't get to where we needed him to get to in this preseason. His advanced statistics looked all right. His advanced statistics were actually still better than Andy Green's, but I don't know if Andy Green's really going 100% in the preseason. He's done this before. He knows what his role is on this team. But without Ty Smith on this team and without putting Andy Green on a pairing with Ty Smith on that bottom pairing, which is what I wanted to see, we now might once again get a 37-year-old Andy Green on the top line. I love Andy Green and everything that he does, but what he does is perfect for 60 minutes a game, penalty killing, blocking shots when it matters, being on the ice for those last 2 minutes when you're trying to stop them from getting a goal. things like that. So I'm very, very excited to see what Bryce has to say about the Ty Smith situation, being a former defenseman, being a former captain. There's just a lot of things that he brings to the table, a lot of perspectives that he's had over the years. And now from the analyst's perspective and seeing these young Devils players in a new era come back up. So I'm very excited to see what he says. Speaking of which, Sam, what's going on?
Hi, I actually got Bryce on the Bobby's Auto Care Hotline. I'm actually very excited about this interview because I've been a big Bryce Salvador fan since his rookie season in St. Louis. And when he got traded to New Jersey, when Lou made that trade, I was very ecstatic and I'm looking forward to it. On the Bobby's Auto Care Hotline, we have from MSG Networks and former Devils captain Bryce Salvador. Bryce, this is Sam and Nick. How are you doing tonight?
Hey, great, guys. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Bryce. We're really excited to have. Oh, yeah, you're perfect. Bryce, we're really excited to have you on. We just, like I said, we just want to jump right into it. We want to talk about the roster got released at a very late time yesterday. The Devils made us all wait, and then we learned that Ty Smith did not make the roster. What are some of the things that you saw in the preseason that kind of what you think led to this decision?
Well, first off, thanks for having me, guys. And, I think a lot of people were surprised by that. I wasn't, to be honest, I saw that being a possibility just from really even from rookie camp. There was just something about Ty this training camp that just was a little bit different from last year, just his mannerisms, the way he was carrying himself, and it's hard to speculate, but it just might have been one of those unfortunate situations where a player was just absolutely dominated at the CHL level. I call it just, wasn't pushed. You're not coming in into a battle every night and where you have free reign. You do it. Every play you make seems to work, and if it doesn't, you're still going to play your 30 minutes. And I think when he came to camp this year, to me, it just looked like he was forcing plays. He was just trying to do too much, as funny as that sounds. And I kind of heard a little bit what you're saying about the advanced analytics and all that. I'm still a little bit about the eye test, and I just think, for his development, I would have actually really loved to there have been an exception where he could play in the AHL this year, because I really think, he needs to, have guys coming and just pushing him, forcing him to make, smarter plays night after night and showing him, hey, kid, if you're going to, try to do some soft stuff, it isn't going to work. And yes, it's working down the CHL, but it's not working up here. And so I think, he might have been a little bit of a victim of his own success at this point in his career. Not saying that, hey, the wheels are falling off Ty Smith by any means. It's just I think he came in camp and realized, oh, wow, it's a different pace, it's a different level. It's the intensity to the next, it's raised compared to where he just was for a full season. So, it's unfortunate that, he's too young to play in the American Hockey League. I played 3 years down there, and I absolutely needed, every bit of those 3 years, because you really understand how to be a pro and bring that work ethic every night. And I'm not alluding that Ty doesn't have the work ethic or the mindset. It's just, I just think that he was just a little too complacent at times, just because he hasn't been pushed for a full year.
So so coming into this camp, I want to say that maybe he felt the pressure because he was just making these really silly mistakes, especially in his own defensive zone. I remember one specific play. I forget which specific game it was, but I just remember one specific play where he just lost the puck behind the net, and the other team ended up putting it in the back of the net. So it's like things like that on the NHL level, maybe it was the speed of the game. Do you think that maybe he just got used to the speed of the WHL, where he's playing on Spokane, he's the defensive player of the year? Or do you think it was maybe he put a little pressure on himself?
Yeah, like I said, we could go back and forth with it, for all night here, but I just keep going back to, if you've been comfortable and you've been in a place where everything goes right more often than not, if you turn the puck over, you're able to retrieve it. They kind of come to the mindset, you know what, I'm not going to be able to catch him. I'm not going to be able to finish my checks on him. He's too elusive for me. Then, guys don't do that. They change the way they come at you as a defenseman. So just like, be like Niedermeyer, like when he was on the ice, like guys, just by his skill set, and then at National Hockey League, he even created more room because guys like, I can't catch him, right? And I just think that Ty came and, like I said, speculating here a bit, but it was a different level compared to where his mindset was last year and what he experienced, all the success. And then I think he felt a little bit pressure when, maybe some things didn't go the way he wanted to. And those are some of the lessons that you learn down in the minors. Right? You're going to go through stretches and I didn't follow too much of his season last year, in all honesty, but in the minors, you're going to have stretches where you're going to turn the puck over. It's not going to go well. You're going to get run over. You're going to get beat one-on-one. But you know what? This is big boy hockey up here, and how are you going to deal with that? You got to start understanding how to play through that stuff. And look, he's 19, and we're talking like it's the end of the world, but it isn't. And he's going to go down. He's going to have a fabulous season. And like I just been saying, I just wish he could have played the next year in the American Hockey League, because I think, in my opinion, he needs that type of competition now.
Bryce, we got a lot of questions coming in from the New Jersey Devils fan base. So I'm gonna they're very chatty tonight, very chatty. They're very excited to talk to the one, the only Elk, the former captain, Bryce Salvador. So Bryce, as somebody who's you've been looking at this roster from the MSG side, from the analytics side, for a couple years now, and you've seen what a Devils team can do. You've seen them at their best, and you've seen them at their worst. Looking at this roster, looking how they played in preseason, what's your expert opinion on how that's going to translate into when the games count? I mean, they had a great preseason. Is that something that can carry on into the regular season, or is it a reset?
I definitely think it can carry into the regular season, and here's why, guys, is because preseason for me was always, as I got further in my career, it wasn't necessarily like, I think I heard you talk about Andy Green. Like, it's very tough to, look at Andy Green's preseason and say, geez, was he good or great? Like, he's an established veteran. It's tough sometimes for the veteran guys to get up. But for new faces, for guys that are trying to prove things, I would always come into camp and look at it and say, okay, well, what is Jack Hughes going to do? And so for me, what I was hoping is that he was going to have success. He was going to score some big goals. When he had high danger scoring chances, he was going to bury him. He did that. So for me, right off the bat, he has this mindset, hey, I can do this. I'm confident. Yes, it's not a full NHL roster. We're playing games. But you know what? I scored on Lundqvist. I made him look bad. I put it through his leg. Like, it's one of those things where you need things like that to happen. Will Butcher, I just like how he came in. He's got a new deal. It was just a sneaky quiet. Got the job done. Same thing with Nico Hischier. It was probably the quietest preseason he's had, former first rounder or first overall pick, and he came in here and just quietly got things done. Didn't matter who he was playing with. So I really like that. So I just kind of look at things like that. How was Sammy coming in? He played hard. He played aggressive. Looked like he's, everything's fine with him. So Taylor Hall, another big one up there. Everyone was wondering what's going to happen. So Taylor Hall would come in to be flying. Like, I was down there ice level in the Rangers game, and to see Hughes and Taylor Hall, the speed, there was nothing that I saw in Taylor's game that he didn't feel like he'd go 100%. So that's a check mark. I'm telling you, even as successful as Taylor Hall's been, when you have an injury, especially with the knee, I've had some MCL injuries myself, like, there's doubt. Right? There's doubt. You got to skate through it, and he did it. So you kind of go down the line like that. That's two steps is another one. Is he going to be able to play in the smaller, confined rinks? Is he going to compete? Is he going to shy away from the hard areas? Well, you know what? He did it. You see that chemistry. I'm just, kind of going up and down the list here, guys. But another guy is Jesper Bratt, right? He's just someone that's kind of, under the radar with all the, the fanfare around some of the key guys that came in. He had a nice, I would say, a good preseason just for himself. That, hey, you know what? Even though there's always other guys, I still found my way to score a goal, get some assists, feel important. So I look at it from that perspective. Enough guys had some great things happen that showed them that, hey, I belong. And then the big piece about that whole thing, or the big question mark for everybody, is goaltending. Corey Schneider. I like what I saw from him, especially what I would be looking is when the Devils are shorthanded. Like, how is he handling those high danger scoring chances? Is he looking behind him too much? Is he moving laterally left or right? To me, he looked confident. He looked strong. And so that's important for him to just kind of build off the last part of the season, the World Cup and all those things, and come in and just, he looks like he's ready to start. So there's enough of those check marks, in my opinion, that you could say, hey, this can translate. And then to even dive into further, this might be a little bit too much detail, but I then always look at the first 2 months of the schedule. And, I don't know if you guys have talked about it before, but when you look at last season, or excuse me, if you look at the month of November, guys, the Devils had 11 road games. And these are not chump games. They're not easy road games. When we get off the call, you guys can go back and look. Like, they had Tampa, they were Pittsburgh, Winnipeg, Toronto, Philly, Washington. So, like, 11 road games in the month of November. And as soon as those wheels went off, like, you're not putting them back on. And it was just a battle from that point on. And so this year, I look at the calendar, I look at the way it starts, and yes, they still have 15 games in November, but it's equal. There's 8 away, there's 7 home. It's little things like that, and then plus their road trip is on the West Coast, which they've had success there over the last couple of seasons. They seem to find ways to win. Taylor usually likes to have good games going back to Edmonton. But, so the first couple months, if the Devils can come out, have some success, guys feel good, I don't really see anything in those first 2 months there that, if anything goes wrong where you're like, oh, geez, they're on the road for another 10 games in this month still. And, and like we saw, like coming out of November last year, I think Ottawa scored 7 goals, I think Toronto scored 7 goals. Like, that's tough to recover from. I don't care who you are. And, a lot of things started going south from that. So, I know it's a long-winded answer for you guys, but maybe other questions we can build off that if you want.
Yeah, no, definitely. I did. Yeah, I had one interesting question that came in through the comments about, Jack Hughes is actually staying with Corey Schneider. First of all, did you ever have a rookie or a young player stay with your family?
No, I never did that.
That's a boss move by him.
Yeah, it's a great move. It's a great situation because not only is he staying with some, Corey, who's a great teammate, like inside the locker room, and I think just what Corey went through over the last year, and everyone got to see how he handled himself in those situations with his adversity. Is just great. He'll be able to keep Jack kind of level-headed. Down to earth. And I think that's important because there's going to be a lot of pressure on Jack. And you want to make sure that he's not by himself. And for Corey to offer that, open it up, it's not something that, I think was just thrown out there on the cuff. Hey, why don't you come stay with me? I think, it was really thought out. I haven't talked to Corey about it. I'll start seeing those guys a lot more over the next couple of weeks. I'm sure that's going to come up, but I think it's great for Jack to have a veteran. And what's also important is that, it's funny as this may sound, guys, it's not a competing position, right? So if things are going bad for either one of them, it's not like the other guys, competing for each other's jobs. So there's a lot of things there that just, when I look at things, I also look at just kind of the mental aspect, and a lot of positive things there will come out of that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that having, the 18-year-old future phenom come in and play with a guy who's been through everything in this game. I think that's going to humble him a little bit. So I think that's definitely going to help, and that's going to also help with him when he goes through those slumps and stretches. So Bryce, you're best known for being the captain after Parisi left. You helped bring that leadership role to the Devils for a couple of younger teams, a couple of older teams too. I remember one of those teams had Jaromir Jagr on it, but a couple of younger teams. And, that's kind of the role that Andy Green is playing right now. Andy Green in the last year of his contract. What do you think his role is on this team? Is he still going to have to be that shutdown guy, or do you think that John Hines is going to kind of let him sit back, play 16 minutes, play main PK? Or do you think that, I'm really curious of who's that going to be that number one guy with PK Subban?
And I think that number one pairing, it's not going to be set for a bit. I think they're going to keep trying different guys and just to kind of see how that plays out. I definitely expect Andy to be right on the top penalty killing unit. I don't see him slowing down there. And Andy's got a lot of pride. I haven't heard him say that this is his last season, so I know he's playing and he wants to show that he's got a lot left. And so I expect him to come in and compete and really do whatever he can to help this team get to the playoffs. And yes, his role will slowly change. I've been there when you start getting into your late 30s. Everything starts to hurt. You don't recover as good, and for him, it's really going to be a true leader in the sense of one of the biggest question marks and challenges I have for this team is actually in that locker room. You're going to need, with all those new personalities coming in there, that's a lot of storylines, as we would say, coming into this locker room all at once. Whether it be, PK, Jack Hughes, those are two big guys. And then you can even say, Keisha's only 2 years removed from being first overall. You got Boquist's story coming in here. And so there's a lot of, Simmons and Gusev. And so how is this? Is it going to take a long time for the chemistry to really gel in there? Who's speaking up in the locker room? Who feels confident if PK has a bad game? To say, hey, PK, you've had a bad game, let's pick it up. And vice versa. You need that camaraderie. You need guys in there that are willing to, tell you how it is. Hey, you know what? Hey, Sal, you had a bad game, you need to pick it up. Or, you need to, or you had a great game, right? You also got to have that confidence. You need veteran leaders in there that are also happy for other guys to have success. And that's a little bit of the veteran leadership part of the NHL that I think is really gone the wayside when with all these young teams is you don't have some of those veteran guys in there that are really just excited for other guys to have success because it's the team, right? And now everyone's so young and everyone's so competitive, which is great for the game. Sometimes you're a lot of isolation, like you're by yourself, right? Because a lot of people don't know how to be a true leader. So that's a kind of a roundabout way of saying this is going to be a very important year for Andy Green in terms of being the captain, being that leader. And I know I went through it when you're not that guy that's necessarily going to put up 50, 60, 70 points as the captain, right? There's also that added pressure of just being steady. And making sure that you're adding that value inside the locker room, on the bench, keeping everybody happy. And more importantly, if things aren't going well for yourself at any stretch in the season, when I'm referring to Andy, that, he handles it the exact same way that Schneider handled it. And that's what a true leader is doing. So, it's an important year for Andy personally, and then also what he will have to do for the team.
So, Bryce, real quick, we know we have to let you go, but just a real quick prediction on where you think this Devils team is going to end the season. I know it's way premature and these don't matter, but we still love them.
Yeah. If you guys, what I love about the Devils fans is they're smart. And as I've got into the MSG broadcasting and you see the stuff that's posted on social media, articles that you guys write, the Athletica, and just everyone's writing, everyone's educated, and they want honesty. They want what is really, when you look at this Devils team, where are they going to be? And I think they can be a playoff team. And I'm not just saying that. I really do think that they can. I think they'll be mid-pack if they have a strong start here, and be kind of pushing in to get into the playoffs. And can't say 100% they'll be in the playoffs just because at this point there's still too many question marks. We need Corey to get us 20 games under his belt and be strong. We need Jack Hughes, to see how he's going to play against, in a regular season game, in Philadelphia, right? How is he going to, is he going to show up? That's one of the hardest barns to play in on the road. I hated going to Philadelphia, right? Because you just is one of those things where the fans are going to be in your face, and so how is he going to really handle that? And then Pittsburgh, how is he going to handle? Is he going to rise up to that challenge against Crosby and Malkin? How does he handle some of those things? So, and then you go down the list. The defense, there's a lot of question marks there. We don't know if Stanley's playing on the left side, is off wing with PK, is Andy up front or back, is Butcher had a great step here in preseason. Is he going to continue on? Can they put him on the second pairing? Mueller, they need a little size back there. Can Mueller come in and provide some of that grit, some of that size, and maybe take off some of that load from, say, Andy at times? Because it's a fast game, it's a grindy game, and so like I said, you have all these little question marks, and then also I think to kind of just sum it all up, how's Coach Hines going to handle this team? Because I think that he, he's going to his fifth year. I think he's around 500 record. He's been in playoffs one season. He now has a team on paper that he can mold. And how is he going to, bring all these guys in to buy in? They're strong personalities. They work, will these guys all buy into the brotherhood when the going gets tough? It's easy right now. Everyone's excited. From you guys, the fans, everyone inside the Prudential Center, media, like everyone's excited about it. But how's Coach Hines going to keep this team together through the tough stretches? They're not going to win every single game, and so can you quickly get these guys to reset if they're on a 3-game skid? In November, they go on the West Coast there. They got Winnipeg, Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver. If things go bad in Winnipeg, if things go bad in Calgary, I think there's a second game. Can you get those guys to reset for Edmonton? And so I need to see some of that stuff to say, hey, these guys are definitely going to be in the playoffs. But on paper, there's no way that you can't say that these guys aren't going to be pushing for a playoff spot.
Well, Bryce, you've given us more than we could have ever asked for. I really appreciate you coming on. If you could just do us a favor and don't tell Chico that you're our favorite interview, we'd appreciate that. But this has been great. We really appreciate it. Thanks for coming on, and hopefully we'll see you at a couple Devils games this year, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Yeah. Well, if you guys are doing this the odd Wednesday, or is it every Wednesday you guys do this?
Every Wednesday, 9 p.m. So on your off nights, you know where to come. Okay. Get in that comment section.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll do it once a month or something, guys, through the season this year. I think because it's going to be an exciting season, and we can kind of, you guys can hold me to the fire here about my prediction about them kind of pushing in at the playoffs. But I think in November we'll see how that West Coast trip goes, and I think we'll have a little bit more information to kind of make an updated prediction, guys.
All right, perfect. Thanks so much, Bryce. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
That is Bryce Salvador from MSG Networks, former Devils captain. Also, he does that ex-hockey products. I've actually been following that the last 2 years. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Yeah, where was Sam Wu in that interview? Nervous as hell. I realize that I'm a fanboy, and I'm just texting Nick throughout the entire interview. You just take it, man. You just take it. And now he's coming back once a month. I'm glad I didn't do the interview because I would have blown it.
You know what, Sam? You know, this is what I love about this show. I'm going to tell you this. I feel like that there are shows that I've listened to that there are guests, and I'm not saying that this is a Devils thing because I haven't really heard it, but I listen to a lot of hockey podcasts, and they have a lot of guests, and it's a crapshoot. You know, you see these people on TV, and that's their job. This is they're doing it on their own time, and for basically just for fun and to connect with the Devils fan base. And every single person that's come on here has just been so generous with their analysis and their information and their knowledge. And you saw Bryce there. Bryce, he went on a couple tangents. And, I thought I was the one with the tangents. I thought I was Mr. Tangent. And then we have Bryce Salvador, maybe he was happy there was no MSG producer rapping him. And, we were letting him go and just, but everything was so insightful. And you could tell that he really puts a lot of thought into a lot of the insight that he has. And it's more than just, I'm a former player. I used to be a captain on this team. I'm going to just, my status is enough to whatever I say goes. Like, he literally looks at these certain things and he was honest about everything. And that's why we were really excited to have him on, because he was going to be honest about just about everything that he said. And, he was still positive about a lot of Devils stuff because it's a positive offseason. Like, right now, the Devils are 0-0-0, and we're going into Friday night with all this excitement. And like you said, the media around the team is excited, and the people in the locker room are excited, and just everybody is excited. And, like, obviously we're excited for hockey to start, but, like, the media getting excited, like, that's a big deal. That's something that, like as somebody who's done this in the media for, the few years that I've done it, like, the sports people I talk to and the sports people I work with pretty closely, they don't get excited for these things. They're just they're happy that more content is coming. But the fact that the media is excited to watch this team, to look at what's going on, that's a big deal, Sam.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is a big deal. I don't ever remember a time that the Devils got this much media attention other than winning Stanley Cups and the excitement. And even when they were winning Stanley Cups, the whole thing about the trap, this and that, whatever, they're winning cups. But now there's so much excitement, there's so much hype, and there's so much potential. Yeah, I'm in. I know Bryce is in. I mean, we just heard him. You can tell by the enthusiasm in his voice. And speaking of Bryce, one thing I noticed about Bryce over his career and some of the interviews that he's done as a player, the guy pays attention to details. I remember that MSG did a thing where they went to his house, and his son at the time was probably like 5 years old, and he was giving him some kind of protein shake that had kale and all these vegetables, and this vegetable is good for you, and he's getting his kid into good habits at age 5 years old as he's running off to the bus. And I thought to myself, wow, this is a professional athlete here. He makes good choices, and that's how. And I think that's part of the reason why I'm such a fanboy, is because when he came up with the St. Louis Blues, a lot of it was his fists, but he learned the position at the NHL level and had staying power in the NHL level, and he became a leader in the locker room. Someone that doesn't have to, scream and, throw the benches around and curse and this and that. No, it was very Scott Stevens-esque, lead by example. And there was a reason why he was the captain of the New Jersey Devils. And in 2012, I was so happy for him on his performance. I mean, he was getting in the offensive zone and scoring. He was not known for that, but he was more of a defensive player, but again, it's one of those things where I'm glad you did the interview, because if he comes back again, he's a friend of the podcast. He's a regular.
There you go.
So that's what qualifies. Because I'll tell you what kind of questions I would ask Bryce. Yours was such a high level, high intelligent interview. Mine would be like, so what's it like sitting next to Erica and doing a post game on the West Coast, and it's late at night? I would have asked a stupid question like that. That's why I just, I'm self-aware, disciplined, and YouTube Live, it was a Sam Wu free interview, so I'm sure YouTube Live is loving it, but Facebook Live, they're great. They're great. I mean, there is a lot of good stuff going on. If you don't mind, Nick, I just want to, if you don't mind if I do a little promo in between before we get our next guest on.
Yeah, I mean, I figured we'd talk real quick before we got the next guest on. We'd talk real quick about kind of like what happened this week, but you could do your promo. I did want to point out real quick that Bryce Salvador's NHL career started in the year 2000. So based on YouTube Live's expertise, you would know everything about Bryce Salvador.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they'll find an excuse anyway to make fun of me. They don't love me. But hey, if anybody from YouTube Live or Facebook Live is going to the game, the home opener on Friday will be at PJ Ryan's at the Rock, 35 Edison Place, right across the street from the Prudential Center. We're going to be doing a live pregame podcast. The hashtag We Are the Fun Tour kicks off. 5 p.m. starts. We'll probably go on air at 5:30. And then after the podcast, we're going to do the march into the Rock to see Jack Hughes' debut. And then after that, back-to-back. This was Shorts Guy's idea. October 5th, join our friends, Bruce Driver and Grant Marshall, regulars of the Let's Go Devils podcast, for a live pregame podcast and viewing party. Also, we are featuring a DJ because we decided, let's have a little fun, because it is the We Are the Fun tour. DJ Shelley, we had her on the podcast the other night, and she is all fired up and a Devils fan. That was like pretty much the only interview question, Nick, was, are you a Devils fan? And she's like, yes. I was like, all right, you're hired. That's basically how it went. Yeah, so.
I'm sure you could get Lacey Mark. She's a big Devils fan. I think you guys talked to her last year. No, she could probably spin some things.
Yeah, you know what? I'll text her. Later because she said that I texted her about it, and she said that it's definitely it's good. She can swing it. She will. But it's local for her. Morristown. David Decker, Let's Go Devils podcast rocks. David Decker, I've got some Gomez Pesos, Rangers Suck confetti, and some Rangers Suck t-shirts, and all this memorabilia. Come October 4th and 5th, let's discuss it, because I know you and Hardline Betty, that's my nickname for her in the Facebook group. Hardline Betty and David Decker are going to do something very anti-Rangers like, and I love it, and I want to contribute to that cause. All right, so what do you want to talk about next? Do you want me to get the next guest, or you?
Let's just go. I just wanted to real quick, because I told what I told the fans while you're going to get Bryce is that we were going to do the beginning of the podcast now, since we kind of had to change the timetables up. So we just kind of go back and forth about the things that happened this week. Obviously, it was a big week. Last time we talked to the Devils fans, I was talking about Michael McLeod making the team, and then John Hines didn't even pair that no mind. He cut them over the weekend. Him and Nathan Bastian, he got cut over the weekend. And then, like we were talking with Bryce about, Ty Smith didn't make this team. And personally, I know Bryce thought that was probably the right decision, because he didn't show enough to make it to the NHL. And I feel like that's definitely a way that I used to think about it. But in this very specific case, I've seen Ty Smith play as an NHL caliber defenseman, and we're basing his entire season off of 4-ish preseason games. And that worries me because now, instead of Connor Carrick and Mirko Mueller being depth guys where our defense looks really good, we have a lot going on there. Now Carrick and Mueller have to play games, and they have to play well. And they have to, even if they're on the bottom pairing right now has Damon Severson on it. At the last check, the last time I saw the line, they had Damon Severson on the bottom pairing, who's a great defenseman. And if it's not Severson, it's Vatanen, and if they move Vatanen over to the left side to play with Subban, then you're playing with the captain, Andy Green, who's a good shutdown guy, which means that you're going to have a guy who's a little more aggressive. So, I don't know, Sam, what do you think? Are you worried about this defense all of a sudden, or was Ty Smith just a luxury?
I don't think it was Ty Smith's time. Because there's so much depth on this defense right now, let the kid grow. Look at Mikey McLeod, right? He had a great preseason improvement. But again, they sent him back to AHL. Let them grow. Don't rush them. When you rush these kids, it doesn't work. There are some kids that you bring up right away, like Jack Hughes, but just let them grow. And then when their time comes, it'll happen. Things happen for a reason, right? Things happen for a reason. I mean,
here's where I disagree. And you brought up this specific thing that I've been bringing up all week is that Mikey McLeod, no, he obviously wasn't going to make the team. I think it was 2 years ago. He came into camp. He actually got hurt. He had the meniscus injury. He missed a part of camp because of that. And then they sent him back to juniors where Nathan Bastian was playing in, one of his, he's part of the Super Buddies. He was playing in the AHL. And McLeod, he still had a good season, but he was he was otherworldly this season before. He dragged the Mississauga Steelheads, a team that's been terrible for a very long time. It's just historically bad. He dragged them to the OHL finals almost by himself. They end up losing to the Erie Otters, but, I mean, he was phenomenal in that playoff race. I think he had 1.3 points per game. He was scoring at a ton. And then the next season, he kind of went through the motions. Like I said, he came back from injury, and then he was kind of just going through it. And then it was kind of okay. He's like, I've done this before. This feels the same. And then he got to the playoffs. He played really well in the playoffs, but he was on a much, 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 much worse team. He once again was scoring over a point per game in playoffs. But then he gets to the AHL, and he had a full year of taking his foot off the gas. A full year of that, where it was 3 weeks out of a full season where he had the foot off the gas. And it took him all season last year, in this offseason, to ramp it up. And now we're finally seeing that guy again, that player that is, has otherworldly skills and can skate through people and around people at the same time. And I don't want that to happen to Ty Smith, where he kind of missed out on his opportunity. And now he's like, well, now I have to go through the motions again. And yeah, he gets to be captain. He gets to play at the World Juniors, and that's all fine and dandy. But World Juniors is 2 weeks out of a 6-month season, so I'm worried about having to wait a year and having. I would have rather just healthy scratched him all year, give him a redshirt year, pay him an NHL salary, let him learn from Andy Green. I mean, Andy Green might not be here next year, so that's a veteran presence he's not going to have. PK Subban will be here, so that'll be nice, but who knows what this team's going to be. It would be nice for him to learn from Taylor Hall, get in a couple games. That's what I would have done, but I guess that's just me. I'm seeing both sides of the argument, and I understand it. I just kind of don't like this defense as much as I did 2 days ago, Sam.
Well, that's why we play the games, right? I mean, you can always call him back up.
I mean, you can. He's in Spokane for the rest of the season.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I forgot about that.
It's all good. That's why he's done. He was either juniors or NHL, and that was it. It's the same with Boquist. That's the same decision I had to make with Boquist, and Boquist did a really good job of earning his spot. He was a guy on Saturday morning. I said lost his spot to Mikey McLeod, and I thought he was in danger of going to Sweden, and then he scored 2 goals like 6 hours later after that published. Made me look real bad, and then he played really well in the last game he played. So Jesper Boquist really earned his spot. He's a guy that I'm interested to see where they end up putting him because he would work best in the top 6, obviously. But I don't think there's a spot for him yet. So I think the best possible place to put him is on the 3rd line. But that one means that you have to put Wayne Simmons on the 4th line. And are you paying $5 million a year for a 4th liner? I don't know if Hines is going to do that right away. There's a lot. So I don't know if I really want him, though, on a line with John Hayden and Miles Wood, or if it takes Pavel Zacha a couple, if Pavel Zacha's ready to go, it's Zacha and Wood, or Zacha and Hayden, or Zacha and Rooney, and
that's kind of a beast of a line. Look, I don't mind putting a $5 million player on the 4th line as long as he's doing his job and scoring goals.
I don't mind. I would do it. I don't mind at all. It's not my money.
Yeah, so. I wonder what Vinny would say.
You can bring him on. Let's go get Vinny, and we can ask him that question real quick, and then we'll go play the game. I have an opening night themed game for you, Sam. So you're going to get ready for this. This is going to be exciting. But the one other thing that we learned this week is that, the lines are still shaking themselves out, which is kind of interesting. I mentioned the Andy Green thing. I wasn't thrilled about him being on the top line, but I like Andy Green more than a lot of people I've seen, but I think that, Dave Decker said mix and match. I think that that's exactly what Hines is going to do. He loves to throw things in a blender, and Boyle was not paid $5 million. Boyle was paid like $2.3 million, I think. I don't think he might have been paid $5 million over the 2-year deal. But either way, I'm just thinking of what they're going to do with this team. I was all against, 100% against, putting Wayne Simmons on the top 6. But you know what? I'm kind of coming around to it. I wouldn't hate seeing Jack Hughes, Nikita Gusev, and Wayne Simmons, because you got that 2-on-1 flair with Gusev and Hughes, and then you can have Wayne Simmons follow from behind, and then if they don't score on the 2-on-1, he can kind of clean it up, put it in the net. I think that could work. The one guy I don't know what to do with is Jesper Bratt. And I want the Facebook comments to tell me what you want to see with Jesper Bratt. I've seen him play on the top line. I've seen him play on the 2nd line. I've seen him play on the 3rd line. I've seen arguments he could even play on the 4th line and make him and Wood just a speedy, try to get him to score kind of thing. So Facebook, I'm looking at Facebook right now. If Twitter wants to chime in, let me know what you think we should do with Jesper Bratt, because he's a player, and Bryce mentioned it too. He's so good. He's so young, but he kind of gets lost in the shuffle this season. Where do you put him? Put him on 3rd line left wing. Put him on 1st line right wing. You put him on 2nd line right wing. Where does he go in the power play? Does he get power play time? That 2nd power play unit looking pretty darn good, even without Bratt. I have thoughts. I think Bratt could have a decent season, but Ramona, 2nd line, period. Oh, Ramona, you're telling it like it is. Paul Alexander wants him with Nico. I have to look back and wonder how much of Jesper Bratt's hot start was playing with an MVP Taylor Hall. But if that's how he's going to play with Taylor Hall, then that's fine. I'm okay with that. Sam, we're talking about Jesper Bratt. I don't know where to end up putting Jesper Bratt. That's the one that's really starting to hit me. I don't know where to put him.
Well, it's that interchangeable part. You could put him on any line, to be honest.
Yeah. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe I'm stressing and it's actually a good thing.
Yeah, because I'm not a big fan. I know that the mixing and matching of John Hines' lines drives people crazy, and matchups and this and that, and and then if it doesn't work out, it seems like he's out coached, but he really isn't. But in reality, you need players, to serve a specific role, on the team. Now, one player that played all over the place, if you remember Sergei Nemchinov back in the day, he was playing on first line, filling in if one of the guys on the A line was down. He was on the penalty kill. You can put him on the power play. You can put him anywhere. And you know who he reminds me of on Pucks and Pitchforks? He reminds me of Vinny Parisi on the Bobby's Auto Care hotline, because Vinny Parisi is just a writing machine right now, and that's a nice segue to introduce Vinny. You like
that's
that?
A professional transition. That is what we call a professional transition, Sam. How you doing, Vinny?
What's going on, guys? That might be the best segue I've ever heard in all my years of listening to podcasts. Very, very well done, Sam.
I mean, we are the kings of the professional transition here. Me and Sam Wu, the professional transition connoisseurs.
Yeah, and we're also professionals.
You guys are amazing.
We're also professionals getting our technical difficulties together with only 2 minutes left on a 10-minute delay. How about that, Vinny?
That's amazing. I love it, guys.
All right.
So, Vinny, real quick, before we get into the game, I want to know what your thoughts on our two things. So we'll start with, since we're talking about, where do you put Jesper Bratt in the lineup?
Jesper Bratt. So, loved him with Boquist in the preseason. I think if they're going to be kind of that offensive duo, playing on a line with Travis Zajac would look really nice, assuming Wayne Simmons plays on the second line with Jack and Nikita Gusev, and you got the traditional top line of Paul Mary, Hall, and Nico. I'm all game to put Brad on the third line with Boquist and Zajac. I think that line could do some damage.
And what were your thoughts on Ty Smith getting cut?
It's a future move to me. Like, he played better in the preseason, whether we want to admit it or not, than Mueller or Carrick, but Mueller and Carrick aren't part of the future, and they're proving that they want to win now and in the future. They're kind of looking at both sides of it by sending Smith to Spokane. I think it'll be good for him. He'll come back next year even more motivated than he did this year. They're probably going to be really, really good. They were last year, and they're even better this year. So I'm not happy about it, but I'm also not, soaking in my sorrows over it. He'll be fine. The team will be fine.
Vinny, I need you to be on my island where I'm yelling and screaming about this still 2 days later.
I mean, it's not ideal that it happened, but it's better than stunting his development. Not that I really think that would have happened. There are so many guys on the team, and they sent Ty Smith down, and they're still carrying 7th defenseman. So I don't know who you would get rid of, or what kind of trade they might be able to do. So what does it hurt to let him go develop some more? He's going to be a great player one day. Yeah, I'm mad about it. It sucks, but.
Sorry, I guess we'll give a couple of views to the Spokane Chiefs. It's fine. But I have a very exciting game. I say this every week, but I work hard on these games. These games are fun. So I have another exciting game for you folks this week. So we're going to call this Lying Grand Opening. No reaction. Okay, we'll move on.
We're calling it what?
Lying Grand Opening. It doesn't roll off the tongue. All right, it's no Jeopardy. But
I thought you said.
I like it.
I thought you said Lion King opening. I'm like, what, Simba before the drop of the puck? I didn't know what you were talking about. I was like, Lion King.
It's the circle of Devil's Hockey. All right, so here are the rules. I have 5 opening night lineups in front of me. I'm going to go back and forth with who was and was not in the lineup. So I'm going to say a name. I'm going to say a year, and I'm going to say a name. And then I'm going to let Sam guess the first, or I'm going to let whoever, probably we'll do it snake style. So Sam will guess one, and then Vinny will guess the other. Then Vinny will guess one, and Sam will guess the other. So I'm literally just going to say in the 2012-13 season was so-and-so in the lineup, and you're going to tell me yes or no, okay? This is opening day lineup only, the first lineup of the season.
Sounds good. I like it.
Okay. So, Vinny, we'll start with you. The last time the New Jersey Devils went to the 2012, or the last time the Devils went to the Stanley Cup was back in 2012, where they lost to the Los Angeles Kings. One of the bright spots of that season was Adam Henrique playing in between Ilya Kovalchuk and Zach Parise. Although he wasn't always the first-line center, he ended up there at the end of the season. But was Adam Henrique on the opening night lineup?
I'm going to go with no.
Ooh, incorrect. Adam Henrique was indeed in the opening night lineup.
What kind of fan are you?
Well, Sam.
Well, my logic was the rookie, but I guess, yeah.
They gave him the start from the get. Now, Sam, one of the driving forces that brought the Devils to that Stanley Cup final was that fourth line of Steven Bernier, Ryan Carter, and Steven Gianta. Was any member of that line on the Devils on opening night?
Yes.
Wah, wah. Incorrect.
What
No.
kind of fan are you?
Not one member, not Ryan Carter, not Steven Bernier, and not Steven Gianta was on the New Jersey Devils opening night lineup in 2011.
Whoa, Vinny. There's a difference between Adam Henrique, a budding superstar, and, I don't know, the fourth line. I mean, come on.
That was a superstar fourth lineup.
I get it. Whatever floats your boat. I get the spin zone. It's all good.
All right, Sam. We're going to throw some curveballs at you.
Bring it.
The New Jersey Devils had a tumultuous 2005-2006 season, but they still made the playoffs. It was the post-lockout years. Lou was trying to figure out a new world. He wasn't the Lou that we thought he was in a post-lockout world. But the Devils were facing Sidney Crosby in his first ever game as an NHL superstar. In the lineup that they put against Sid the Kid, when he was actually a kid, did they have Patrick Elias in the lineup?
Yeah, I was at that game. We were drinking a lot. And I think that's where that Parise's better chant came about. Because I think he had assists and Crosby was just, it was his first game. I think he was just trying too hard.
He scored.
He got an assist. He didn't score.
So, what was the question again? Who was in the lineup? Patrick Elias?
Patrick Elias.
No, he wasn't because he had Hep A and he was recovering from it.
That is correct. Good.
Oh, what kind of fan am I? The best.
Very good. You're an awesome fan.
Thank you.
So, Vinny, I have to ask you, was Alexander Mogilny in the lineup?
That's a good one. Wow.
So I asked it, Vinny.
I'm gonna go with yes. Yes, he was.
Alexander Mogilny was indeed in the lineup. That was his second stint with the Devils that did not go nearly as well as the first in a post-lockout world.
He was pretty old, right? He had to be pretty old by that season.
He was up there. He was up there. I think he got an assist in that game, though. But, neither here nor there. Moving on. We are going to the There you go. We are going to the 2008-2009 season. Nothing special about this season, although, was that the season that John McClain was the coach? I got to look this up now.
No, I think Brent Sutter. I think it was Brent Sutter. Was it Brent Sutter?
Okay.
Yeah, it was Brent Sutter. Might have been Brent Sutter.
Anyway.
Or maybe not. I don't remember.
Anyway, it doesn't matter at this point because now I really want to know. And he took over in 2009. So the next season. Yeah, it was the next season. Brett Sutter resigned on June 9th, and then John McClain took over in July. And then he was what happened? I don't know. Anyway, he took over in 2010, and then he was fired by December. Okay, moving on. I'm talking through this. In that lineup, 2008, did the Devils dress Bobby Holik?
Who are you asking me?
Who answered the last one? It's Vinny's turn. Vinny, did they dress Bobby Holik?
On opening night, I'm going to go with no. He was rather old.
He was rather old, and he was rather playing. Bobby Holik was indeed in the lineup.
Was Brendan Shanahan in the lineup too? Was that the year Brendan Shanahan?
I don't think that was the. I don't think that was the year.
Okay.
But anyway, Sam, I have to ask you: did the Devils bring the beef that year, and also have David Clarkson in the lineup?
Clarkson came up around 06, 07. Then he became a regular. Yes, he was.
The Devils brought the beef. They had both David Clarkson and Bobby Holik in the lineup that day. I could just imagine the fights, the line brawls. It must have been chaos.
It was chaos.
That was a chaotic team under Brett Sutter of all people too. Man, what a team. All right, moving on. So the Devils are coming off the lockout after their high of a Stanley Cup Finals run. It was an interesting offseason. They lost Zach Parise. We were wondering whether Kovalchuk was going to come back from Russia. It was rough. It was not a good time to be a Devils fan. But then the season started, and they started off red hot. I remember that year everybody was talking about the Chicago Blackhawks win streak, but the Devils had a no-loss streak that went about 9 games, I believe. Then it all fell apart. But in game 1, Sam, was Corey Schneider in the lineup? He could be
in the lineup.
He just had to dress.
Of course he was. No, he wasn't actually. No, he wasn't. No, because he got drafted in the 2013 draft, which would have been after, because it was a lockout shortened season. So, no.
Okay, Sam, you got it right. You had it wrong, but I let you think it through. Johan Hedberg was the backup goalie for that season.
We may have to go to the replay, to Toronto on that one, because it was kind of like in baseball when you just stop and it's still a ball, not a strike,
Wasn't that the year that Brodeur got stuck on 666 wins and then got injured for a while there too, and he was stuck at 666 for the longest time?
I just remember he had that bicep injury. He was out for like 3 months, and that ruined the season because Johan Hedberg was too old to play anymore.
That's when it started to derail, was when he got hurt. Because like you said, it was decent to start off.
I mean, they were in first place for a bit. But, I mean, and the problem was that you have you had 2 40-year-old goalies, and you were playing every other night. and there was a lot of back-to-backs because you're trying to fit, I think it was like a 58-game season into 3 months. It was bad. It was rough. Anyway, moving on. Vinny, you need this to stay alive. Was Cam Jansen in the opening night lineup in 2012 or 2013? It was January 2013.
Oh, man. He was definitely there.
He was there.
I feel like he
give
was
you that.
that year, though, but I can't remember if it was the beginning or the mid or end.
Cam Jansen, he fought a lot. He got hurt sometimes.
This is tough. This is going to be a bad look if I get it wrong. What would that make me? 1 for 3?
Yeah.
I feel like he only played a handful. He only played a handful of games that year. I know that much. I feel good enough of a fan saying that. So I'll go no because of that fact.
Womp, womp, womp. Meow.
Oh,
All right.
Do you need
Can you
sound effects?
confirm that how many games he played?
I
Sorry,
figured it was
I
more. I thought it was more demoralizing if I made it with my mouth.
For sure is.
Well, Vinny, you have one chance to redeem yourself to at least go with a 400% save or 400 save percentage. We're going to go to the 2017-18 season, the last time the Devils made the playoffs 2 seasons ago. Can you tell me if Miles Wood was in the opening lineup?
No, he was not. And he was mad about it.
He was mad. He was big mad. He gave the meanest mug. He gave the meanest mug I've ever seen somebody give to a camera until if John Hines decided to take him out of the lineup this opening night, he gets introduced, and John Hayden's in the lineup instead of him. So we could see another mean mug this year. I hope not. I think Miles Wood should be in this lineup, but I don't know.
So do I.
I don't know. So, Sam, you've already clinched the win, but we'll ask anyway because you're here. Sam, was Travis Zajac in that opening night lineup?
What year?
2017.
I feel like this is an open net, and it would be an empty net goal, so I'll say no.
He was not in the lineup. That was the year that he tore his pec. So he missed. That was the year that, and it thrust Nico Hischier on the first line because Travis Zajac wasn't there. We just assumed Zajac was going to be a first line center. Sam, this might have been your best showing yet.
You can't stump the Woo. The Woo has his own beer right now. The Woo has his own beer now at the Prudential Center. I'm not lying.
I saw that. But it's an IPA. It's an IPA. Why? But they said it was a smooth drinking IPA, so I'm still going to try it. But I usually skip the IPA section at my local beer store. Anyway,
do you guys remember how doom and gloom it felt like when Travis Zajac was announced injured in like August that year?
I do. We were all ready to kind of give up on the season. That was actually my first year with Pucks and Pitchforks. And when he got hurt, I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm not building a fan base this year. And then things changed. And now look at where we are. But, Sam, why are you bobbleheading in my face?
We need to get Ken Danico on the program. Imagine if he's like Bryce, like, hey, I need to come here once a month.
I don't know, Sam. He was on the New Jersey Devils pregame show today. They went one-on-one with us today. They were direct competition.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, right now we have a solid 18 people watching in on the Facebook Live. I'd like to thank.
To be fair, this is the worst it's been all night. It's been at 35, around 30 to 35, especially with that Bryce interview. So, but anyway, yeah. Vinny, we really appreciate you coming on. Thanks for your insight. Thanks for playing the game. Sorry you lost to Sam, and Sam was a jerk about it.
okay. I love Sam. I love competing against him. I'll get him one of these times. You gave him all the easy ones anyway. Like Corey Schneider, he wasn't even on the team yet.
Oh, what about the
almost got it
Hepe
wrong.
one? What about the Hepe one, Patrick Elias in 2005? But it was within my knowledge.
I'll give you credit for that. That was nice. Hey, good win.
Yep. Well, handshake over social media, Vinny, and thank you for calling in. That is Vinny Parisi on the Bobby's Auto Care hotline. Bobby's Auto Care, 2151 Route 57 in the beautiful downtown Washington, New Jersey, in the heart of Warren County. It's next to a town called Oxford, I think. Oxford, New Jersey. Anyway.
I don't think that's the same Oxford that has the college, so.
No, not at all. But they have something, and I'm not going to talk about it. People know that. Just keep it to yourselves. Anyway. So, well, Nick,
this is how you know we've been kept out too late, Sam. That's how you know.
Well, we had a rough start to the podcast, but you know what, people? And this is what the New Jersey Devils are going to do this year. They may come out to a slow start, but you just work the problem. Nick figured it out. Then, for the audience that don't know, we started 10 minutes late. Nick couldn't hear me in his headset. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm just like doing every single stall tactic possible. And then we had Bryce at 9:15, and we're just like, no, we don't bag it on the State of the Fan address. We have our fans wanting their devil-centric content on a Wednesday night when hockey season's back. I was all like prepared. I was serious because I didn't want to screw up the interview because I know Nick worked very hard to get this interview, which I appreciate, Nick. And, sometimes you have to be self-aware that, Sam Wu can be a dumbass, and I let Nick take over. And what did Nick do? He scored a great interview, and guess what? We may have a friend of the podcast if he comes back.
Sounds like a good plan. We'll talk to him in November.
Yeah.
But a couple plugs before we go. I feel pretty confident. We're talking to the deputy editor of the Sporting News Canada, Jackie Spiegel, next week. She was the only national analyst that's picked the Devils to win the Metro, as far as I can see, Sam. And we're going to have her on the podcast to tell us why next week. So that should be an exciting interview.
Yeah. Do you mind if I plug Let's Go Devils podcast this weekend?
Of course.
What's going on? All right.
You keep plugging, then I'll plug. We'll plug and plug and plug and plug.
All right. So Friday, we'll be at PJ Ryan's outside the Prudential Center for the home opener. Starts at 5 p.m. Second floor. You just got to get to the second floor. We're not going to be on the first floor. They stuck us to the second floor because they know that we're a popular podcast with over 25,000 downloads and over 200,000 views, the most watched podcasts in the history of Devil-centric podcasts. Also the most commented. And October 5th, we have Bruce Driver and Grant Marshall at the Grasshopper Off the Green in Morristown, New Jersey. The hashtag We Are the Fun tour continues. And Sunday, we've got Chico Resch on the Let's Go Devils podcast this Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. So 3 podcasts in a row by the Let's Go Devils podcast. And Nick, I like that gem that you found because you know what? We are sometimes, well, I know I'm a homer, but you know what? I like reporting where, hey, the Devils, they're going to be winning the Metro. Hey, I'm kind of interested to hear why this reporter thinks so. And, sometimes the Devils, they get lost in all the media. But right now, everybody's talking about New Jersey. Everybody. And enjoy it because it was never like that years ago. Not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when the Devils' home opener after winning the Cup in 2003. What was WFAN talking about around that time?
Probably the Yankees or the Giants or the Jets or tennis or.
Well, the Yankees just. This is the thing. The Yankees. Maybe I got my timing wrong, but it was like, after the home opener, and then they barely talk about the Devils, and then by the end of the month, when the Yankees lost to the Marlins in 2003, the next day they're already talking about 2004 World Series lineup because they assumed that the Yankees are going to be back in. Come on. Yeah, come on. Yeah, it definitely didn't work out. Anyway.
Sorry, I still got to represent. It's fine. I know you're a Mets fan, but it's okay. But Sam, one last thing. We're going to try something new on the Pucks and Pitchforks this year. I'm going to try to do it for as many games as I can. But, I'm fitting into a very busy workflow. But we're going to do Devils Bingo. Devils Bingo starts Friday, Sam. I'm going to kind of put together a board. And then I still got to figure out, maybe we'll give out some prizes. I don't know. I'm still working it out. But I think that it could be a lot of fun. The first person to tell us on Twitter, following us at Pitchforked Puck, at Pitchforked Puck, you might win a prize. Who knows? And then, we got a couple good articles. I had to apologize real quick because I promised you guys the awards piece, but we didn't put that up because we were waiting on the Ty Smith decision that took forever. So that'll be coming within the next day.
Awesome. Well, folks, Friday's almost coming. It's almost here. And I hope to see a lot of the Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Twitter Periscope on the Let's Go Devils podcast network on Primetime Radio, powered by Nova Product Design. Nick, excellent podcast. We muscle through it. Thank you to Bryce Salvador, Vinny Parisi. Till next time, let's go Devils.